What's up, YouTube? It's Halloween. This is a special request to all those who wanted to know about this new song about sharks biting off titties. So I figured if I'm gonna surprise you guys on YouTube, sharks are biting off titties. Oh, they're biting titties off. Don't go in there, pretend like it's seasoned meat. White people pretend that the ocean is just like seasoned meat. Pretend that the ocean is a group of black guys. Pretend that the ocean is seasoned meat. Remember, white people, sharks are biting off titties. Oh. Get your titties bit off. I say get your titties bit off. Get your titties bit off. Yeah. Verse 2. Sharks are biting off nipples. Oh, they're biting nipples off. Don't think about the fact that nipples are on titties. So I kind of fucked all that up. I kind of fucked all that. I just fucked all that up. Oh, I just fucked all that up. Let's go with this. Sharks are biting off ball sacks. Oh, they're biting ball sacks off. Don't go in there, they're taking off the scrotum. Oh, they're taking off the scrotum. I told them, don't go in the ocean, cause you'll lose your scrotum. I was gonna play Thriller, but then I was like, I don't want them to come after me in my rights. But thank you. What's up, guys? I almost said thank you like it was a real performance. Happy Halloween. I told you guys I might do a surprise podcast. It's been a busy day. I was gonna do it earlier. So if you're not trick-or-treating or going to a Halloween party, we can hang out. Cause I ain't doing shit tonight. I made that decision this morning. What up, Fabian? With your vegan future Hendrix looking ass. Okay, he just paid to roast me. That is a lot. What's up? There's a lot of you guys in here. I thought everybody was out doing their thing. I'm kind of Halloweened out. I did the mazes. I did the spooky content. I feel like I did it all. So I think I'm just gonna stay in, hang out with you guys for an hour or so, and then edit. Because that's what losers do. That's what losers do. So I think today it's Halloween. Let's get a little spooky, guys. I'm gonna read you guys some freaky creepypastas. I was really calling myself a loser, but hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's do some scary stories, guys. Let's get into it. Maybe we can do a paranormal party as well. I'm not gonna do any news. I'm just gonna do scary stuff. Perfect timing. Just got home from work. All right, see how things work out. And I thought I was late. But yeah, it's gonna be it's spooky time, guys, and I'm gonna let you guys guide. I'm gonna let you guys guide a few of them. But I want to start with one that I think is pretty freaky. It's called the emotionless. The expressionless. And I'm about to take the camera off and show you guys why I want to read this one first. So this is a picture of a woman in a hospital, and here it goes. I'm going to show you. You guys see it? I can't see the camera right now because it's pointed away, but that's her. That's the expressionless. Back to me. Haha. Did y'all see it? Did y'all see it? Now this is not going up on Spotify, obviously, because of the visual component. But this is the expressionless. Oh, I didn't even talk about my fake costume. I'm Nathan Drake from Uncharted. If he were black and a real nigga. Feel me? I'm an adventurer. I go to space. I did not have a costume this year, guys. I had some ideas and nothing worked out. So I looked in my closet, and I saw this jacket, which was great jacket, probably the worst purchase in LA. I've never used this seriously. But I just looked into my closet and I said, that's what I am. Okay, so you guys are creeped out by the picture like I was. All right, so I'm gonna read this one, and then I'm gonna tell you guys a couple of options for the next one, and you guys pick it. And feel free to throw in the comments what your costume is this year. I'm assuming since you're watching me, you might not have one. Because Halloween on a Thursday is weird to me. It's very weird. Okay, so here's the first spooky story on this cloudy Halloween night. This is called The Expressionless. So in June 1972, a woman appeared in Cedars-Sinai Hospital in nothing but a white, blood-covered gown. Now, this in itself shouldn't be too surprising since people have accidents and go to the hospital. But there were two things that caused people who saw her to vomit and flee in terror. Sorry if you hear little kid screams. I'm not obviously I'm not a pedophile. We're just ignoring all the kids trick-or-treating right now. My house got that dark, don't come up to it look right now. So the staff were looking at this girl who just arrived to the hospital. She's covered in blood. And for some reason, the staff is throwing up and running away. The first thing that they noticed is that she was clearly not human. She resembled something close to a mannequin, and I'll show the picture again, but had the dexterity and fluidity of a normal human being. So it was like a mannequin that just came to life. Her face was as flawless as a mannequin's, devoid of eyebrows and smeared in makeup. There was a kitten clamped in her jaws. Say that one more time. There was a kitten clamped in her jaws, so unnaturally tight that no teeth could be seen, and the blood was still squirting out all over her gown and onto the floor. She then pulled it out of her mouth, tossed it aside, and collapsed. This gets a little more intense. I'm just going to check in with you guys. Because this is a lot. This is a lot. At work in the dark alone in the middle of a tornado watch. Perfect time for spooky shit. Man, sounds like you have Earl Ross. Sounds like you have some shit to worry about. You should probably get off. DJ Too Brazy. That's an alien, bro. Just keep on watching. Appreciate the Red Bull. Audrey, excuse me. Happy Halloween. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's a smoothie. That is a smoothie. $5 smoothie. Okay, so I'm gonna show you the picture again. Sorry, guys. Here it is. Boo! This is what she looked like. She came in looking like full-on last stage Michael Jackson. And you see they holding her down. They don't want her to get free at all. Okay, let me see. Is it straight? Is it straight? Okay. Hey, Mr. Trill. I appreciate that. You gave me a $5 footlong on the $10 tier because, you know, Subway be lying. I'm having a beer, so here's one for you on me. That's the day I would have quit working at that hospital. First of all, thank you for the beer. Second of all, I absolutely would have quit, and I probably would have quit before treating her because I don't even know. Jacob Perry. All right, I'm getting beers on the house. This is a Halloween. I thought appreciate you, Jacob. Appreciate you, Jacob. So, quick recap. She shows up. She has a kitten, not a cat, a kitten in her mouth, squirting blood. She has completely flawless face, no eyebrows, smeared in makeup, has the look of a mannequin, but fluidity of a human being. She spits the kitten out, throws it aside, and then collapsed. From the moment she stepped through the entrance to when she was taken to a hospital room and cleaned up before being prepared for sedation, she was completely calm, expressionless, and motionless. So I guess she stepped through, did the thing, and then collapsed. She wasn't freaking out, which if you see anybody covered in blood and they're not freaking out, I would run. No expression, I would run, and motionless. The doctors thought it was best to restrain her until the authorities could arrive, and she did not protest. So remember, she's calm, expressionless, and motionless, but they're still so freaked out that they're like, tie this bitch down. They were unable to get any kind of response from her, and most staff members felt too uncomfortable to look directly at her for more than a few seconds. Yeah, it's got a little chill. But the second the staff tried to sedate her, she fought back with extreme force. So she went from completely like expressionless and calm to just really aggressive. Two members of the staff had to hold her down as her body rose up on the bed with that same blank expression. So she's fighting back, but still no expression. And I guess that's what the picture is. I started doing this before realizing how creeped out I would be. If you look at my Instagram story, there was literally a ghost in here like 10 minutes ago. My little cat over here started going, and then it started stopping. Oh, and as I talk about it, it is moving. Let's explore this instead, because I'm having like a real life Halloween haunting today. So this is the cat on the speaker, and for some reason I was just doing my thing. See, look, you see how it's just moving? I was just doing my thing and I heard it. It was going like full force. Yeah. Okay. Well, dope. I'm getting this on camera. You guys see it here first. Hopefully nothing else happens and shit don't start flying around the room. But yeah, there's somebody in here. It was going really really hardcore a couple seconds ago, and I was just like, oh, and I started recording it, and then it stopped, and now it's just like kind of going and stopping. We put the shit back on me. There's like 5 ghosts behind me. If you guys could just let me get through this podcast, that'd be great. And then don't do anything afterwards too. Am I good? All right. No Asian girls behind me. That'd be freak. All right. So dope. Now you guys know my paranormal podcast was somewhat legit. All right, so now let's jump back into this horrifying story. So remember, this girl is completely expressionless, motionless, calm, and she's freaking out every time they try to restrain her. And people aren't even trying to look at her like that, right? So they're just, oh fuck! I just read ahead. Oh my god. Okay. All right. So they tried to sedate her. She fought back with extreme force, and they held her down, and she had that same blank expression. Here's the part. She turned her emotionless eyes toward the male doctor and did something freaky. She smiled. As she did that, the female doctor screamed and let go out of shock. In the woman's mouth were not human teeth, but long, sharp spikes, too long for her mouth to close fully without causing any damage. So they were so sharp and big that if she closed her mouth, they probably would come out of her I'm hearing shit now. It would come out of her mouth. Wow. The male doctor stared back at her for a moment before asking, "What in the hell are you?" She cracked her neck down to her shoulder to observe him, still smiling. There was a long pause. The security had been alerted and could be heard coming down the hallway. As she heard them approach, she darted forward, sinking her teeth into the front of his throat, ripping out his jugular and letting him fall to the floor, gasping for air as he choked on his own blood. She stood up and leaned over him, her face coming dangerously close to his as the life faded from his eyes. She leaned closer and whispered in his ear, "I am God." The doctor's eyes filled with fear as he watched her calmly walk away to greet the security men. His last ever sight would be watching her feast on them one by one. The female doctor who survived the incident named her the Expressionless. There was never a sighting of her again. Nigga said fake. You think? They're scary. Bullshit. Nigga. Woo! Let's do another one. I just had the thought, like, they wouldn't be that mad if I did one and dipped, but I guess I gotta. I guess I should do more. That's a fucked up one. That's a fucked up one. I would actually like to see that in a movie, so I cannot watch said movie. But it's good to know. It's good to know that that kind of stuff is being made. It's pretty spooky stuff. Okay. Let's go on. Now I'm going to let you guys choose how you're going to creep me the hell out. So there is there's one called Anora Petrova, and it is basically a tale about messing with the unknown forces on the internet. I guess somebody Googled themselves and found a Wikipedia page about her, and she edited it, and then her life went out of control as she edited. It's pretty freaky. There's one called Ben Drowned, which is the story of a haunted Majora's Mask cartridge. I might have done that on my Patreon, actually. There's a freaky one called Robert the Doll, which is, they say it's not for the faint of heart because Robert the Doll actually exists. And he was given to an artist in the late 1800s, and it began to terrorize the family. It's a pretty strong one. There's one called Candle Cove, which is basically a TV show from the 70s. And there, if you know it, it's supposed to be like a nostalgic, creepy one. But the memories grow darker and more disturbing when they find out the true nature behind the show. It's kind of freaky. You can see they're almost like porcelain dolls. There's the Slender Man. Slender Man's always a good time. There is No End House, which is basically a haunted house that will give you $500 if you can survive a trip through 9 rooms of torture. Doesn't seem like a lot of money. One is called Doors, which is a household that's attacked by a mysterious figure that the protagonist tries to chase out. And I guess it literally says giving away more of the plot would ruin the surprise, but the story is properly horrifying and amazing. I don't want to give you guys too many options so you can remember these. And then there's one called Lavender Town syndrome, which is a story about a bunch of children in Japan getting ill or committing suicide. And the one link between them was that they all were playing Pokemon Green and reached an area called Lavender Town. Let me check in with you guys. Make sure you guys are being okay. You guys aren't being haunted. My biggest fear is to switch back into my camera and some wild shit. Yep, rebuke all this in the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. Let me see. Okay, got a couple for that one. Robert the Doll. Okay. Robert, looks like everybody's going for Robert the Doll. A lot of noises going on in here. This is a Halloween treat. Patrick Cloud was killed on his live on Halloween night. Okay, looks like everybody's feeling Robert the Doll. All right, so Robert the Doll is about a legendary evil doll that has been haunting the citizens of Key West for over 100 years. So you guys get a little visual. This is Robert. Robert actually exists. See, he has got his legs crossed up, tired after a day of haunting. Got his little puppy. And he's on display for people who are not smart. I mean, it's one thing to pay for a haunted house with actors. It's another thing to actually want to come into contact with something that is literally possessed. So this is the story of Robert the Doll. Robert Eugene Otto, or Gene, as his family called him, was just a young boy in the early 1900s with his family's maid. When his family's maid gave him a strange straw-filled doll to play with. Now, off top, I just pictured an old black maid. I'm not trying to be racist. I'm just saying that because that seems like that happens in most horror movies. It's like some old voodoo practicing witch with, roots in Africa. That's just what I thought. This was a life-size doll, and little Robert brought it along everywhere and even named it Robert after himself. It wasn't long, however, before people began noticing signs of the doll's evil and mischievous nature. Rumor has it the Ottos and their servant would often hear Gene in his bedroom having conversations with himself in two entirely different voices. Now, this is when you throw the kid away. I am not a parent myself, but I watch a lot of scary movies, and I always thought, like, what if I finally decided to have a kid and this nigga was just next level paranormal weird? I would understand. Maybe he's in my genes or something, but I don't know if I mean, like, you come in some room, he's just like, hello, father, red rum. It's like, no one would miss you. I don't know. I ain't trying to say raising Satan. But I digress. Two different voices kind of set me off. Furthermore, the Ottos would wake up in the middle of the night to Gene screaming, only to find the frightened boy in bed surrounded by overturned furniture. Gene would blame Robert the doll for messing up the bedroom, while Robert would glare at Gene from the foot of the bed. So Gene is they're both named Robert. So let's just call, I guess, the boy is Gene. So imagine running into, I'm just going to keep going back to parents because they're not here. They're out trick-or-treating. So we might as well talk about them. I'm just imagining how I would feel as a parent to come into the room, see everything overturned, and he's saying the doll did it. I'm the type of person to believe that and burn the house down. Burn the house with the doll down. Soon after, mutilated toys and mysterious happenings would appear in the home, only to have Gene proclaim each time Robert did it. So this Gene kid was going through it. Although the Ottos didn't quite believe Gene, I don't know why, it was reported that they could hear the eerie sound of Robert giggling around the house. people, I don't, it baffles me how many red flags people let go, just in life. The passerbys even claimed to see a small doll moving from window to window. Sorry, guys. I will get through this. People were literally walking down the street, because that's, people do that sometimes. And they would see Robert the doll moving around the house from window to window. Not to mention the actual parents heard this nigga giggling. Robert was eventually moved to the attic, because why throw it away, right? Where he remained for a number of years. Gene inherited his family's Key West mansion after his parents passed, at which Robert the doll returned to his old bedroom. So after his parents passed, he put Robert the doll back in his bed, in his old bed. Gene's turret room on the second floor. I don't know what a turret room. I assume they were rich. By then, Gene had began working as an artist, and local folklore insists that Gene would spend his days alone in his mansion painting with his old friend Robert. So he lost it, which I believe, because if you were going through that as a kid, good damn. Gene eventually married, and many tales of his wife's disdain for Robert arose. Obviously, she fell in love with some dude and was like, "Who's this doll that you keep talking to?" Conflicting rumors surfaced, some alleging that Gene's wife died from insanity after locking Robert in the attic, while others report that Gene died with Robert by his side. So I kind of didn't get that part. It says that Gene's wife died from insanity after locking Robert in the attic. And then others say that Gene died with Robert by his side. But today, Gene's residence operates as a bed and breakfast called the Artist House. And visitors can even stay in the old bedroom. This is where you lose me. Wow. Robert the doll now lives at Fort East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida. Okay, so the doll was taken out, but you can still go to the artist's house and stay in the bedroom where Robert was. But Robert himself lives at this museum, where some believe his hair color and soul are both slowly fading. So this fucking doll got a gray 5 o'clock shadow. Like, what's going on? Visitors beware, though, as Robert's current favorite mischievous act involves casting curses on those who take his photo without asking permission. To date, the walls near his glass are covered in numerous letters from previous visitors and naysayers begging for Robert's forgiveness and asking him to remove any hex he has cast. So people, dumbly enough, are still going. And when they go home, and their car blows up and they see a fucking Asian girl in their bathroom like this. And they're like, "Oh, I'm cursed." Then they try to ask him for forgiveness. And he's like, "Nah, fam, you gotta take, here's Robert again." He was like, "Nah, fam, you gotta ask for these pictures. These are Getty images. You gotta buy them." So yeah, that is Robert the doll. Pretty freaky stuff, huh, guys? Let me check in with my homies. Yes, a lot of nervous laughter. You see it. You see it. I want Hazel in here. This is getting freaky. I low-key want Hazel in here. I mean, you can't fucking blame me. It's a damn ghost in here, and I'm telling ghost stories. It's kind of freaky. All right, I am going to list a couple more stories. And then, I don't need Hazel. I'm the only big dog in here. Roof. You heard me? This story got me hard. Wow. Okay. And niggas is inappropriate. Hey, what's up, guys? A lot of people in here. Not a lot of likes, but that's just how y'all roll, apparently. um, People say I want a relationship like Robert's. No, you don't. No, you don't. For everybody who just joined, we're doing creepypasta stories. We are 2 in. I'm freaked out. We had a ghost pull up a damn chair, like, yo, what's good? We doing scary stories for sure. So yeah, nobody. The doll is still out here despite the giggling. Definitely not a black family. You kidding me? Jean? You ever met a black Jean? Yeah, that whole situation's going up in fire. All right. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Did it just get dark a little bit? Did you see that? You saw a little shadow thingy? Y'all see it? Oh, there it go again. Is that just autofocus? All right. Let's do it. Let's do another one. Let me X out of that. X out of that. Okay, so on the books, we got the No End House, which is a famous scary house, and the story of trying to survive the night in to get $500 to go through 9 rooms of torture. And I guess you get clout. There is also The Doors, which is a story about a family that is attacked by a mysterious figure and has to be chased out. And it's supposed to be like a very big twist ending. Excuse me. We got the Lavender Town syndrome, where a bunch of Japanese kids started killing themselves, and the only thing that was the same was that they were all playing Pokemon Green, and they all got up to a level called Lavender Town. We also have the Goat Man story, which is a Native American legend, very creepy picture. It's a teenager who goes down to Alabama to be with his family, and when they're camping in the woods, they see a strange figure, the Goat Man, jerking and spouting gibberish as it followed them. And they spend the rest of the year as the Goat Man slowly infiltrates the group. Now, I originally read that as jerking off, which kind of makes it a little funny. But ain't nothing funny about this photo. I don't like it. And then there's the Slender Man, which is the tall, pale, faceless ghoul who haunted the forums of the internet in a pressed suit and unnaturally long limbs. It's not a narrative story, but it's a historical look on the monster's history with humanity. So those aren't the only subjects. That's just the only one on this list. So let me know what you guys are thinking. Said turn on the lights. I'm tripping. I'm close to it. But we got something good if I turn these lights on. These things aren't eyes. It's a gold plaque. Those are just 2 reflections. So stop fucking with me. I might get Hazel. I'm not even lying. All right, so we got No End House. Some people saying Lavender Town and Hazel. Yeah, right. Okay. Doors. Lavender Town. A lot of Lavender Town. A lot of Goat Mans. Okay, so people are feeling the Lavender Town and the Goat Man. Okay. A lot of people asking for The Secret of Lavender Town. It's freaking me out because I have the headphones on for the mic, and it's picking up kids that are trick-or-treating outside. I'm hoping. So every now and then I'll hear, yeah. But those are trick-or-treaters outside. All right. Lavender Town Syndrome. So the Lavender Town Syndrome, also known as Lavender Town Tone, or the Lavender Town Suicides, was a peak in suicides and illness of children between the ages of 7 and 12, shortly after the release of Pokemon Red and Green in Japan. So this was back in '96. Rumors say that these suicides and illnesses only occurred after the children playing the game reached Lavender Town, whose theme music had extremely high frequencies. The study showed that the children and the young teens can hear since their ears are more sensitive. So apparently this was targeted for young people who don't have worn down ears from years of Beats headphones. Due to the Lavender Tone, at least 200 children supposedly committed suicide. It's a lot of kids. And many more developed illnesses and afflictions. The children who committed suicide usually did so by hanging or jumping from heights. Hanging is a horrible way to go. How do you hang yourself? It's like, I feel like there's a lot of easier ways to do it. Those who did not acted irrationally, complained of severe headaches after listening. Excuse me. Those who did not acted irrationally. Wait, this is just poorly written. But apparently if they didn't kill themselves, they got headaches after listening to the theme. Although Lavender Town now sounds different depending on the game, this mass hysteria was caused by the first Pokemon game released. After the Lavender Town incident, the programmers had to fix the theme music to be at a lower frequency so that children were no longer to be affected by it. It says one video appeared in 2010 using special software to analyze the audio of the original music. When played, the software created images of the unknown near the end of the audio. So this raised controversy since it didn't appear until the Generation 2 games. But basically it translated to leave now. Ugh, I guess that was actually in the track, something that translated to leave now. Okay. That was okay. That was like a little cute break. For the most part, like that wasn't like the other ones. So I'm kind of glad. I'm kind of grateful. I'm gonna do the Doors next because it says it has a little twist at the end. And I like as it twists. Ooh, this one is long. You guys down for a long one? That's what she said. How you guys feeling? You guys down for a extended story with a twist? You guys see the video? Okay. Goatman. People want Goatman. Sabrina, hey, thank you for the Red Bull. You got more talent than you know. Shine that light. You could tell by when I started reading that. I didn't know how nice that was about to be. Thank you so much. And you gave me a Red Bull. Okay, people hella want the goat. All right, so the Goatman or the twist. Okay, people are down for the long story with the twist. Yeah. I'm just trying to keep myself chipper. So let me see which one's shorter. I'll do the shorter one first. This is like an extended version of getting called on in class to read. Ooh, shit. Yeah, y'all might not get the y'all might not get the Goatman story. That's a long one. So let's go into Doors, shall we? Estimated reading time, 6 minutes. I like this website. Let me know how long I'm going to be reading, because with my stupid commentary, that's probably going to be pushed up to 8. So This is clearly from the POV. It started off saying, I was adopted. I never knew my real mother. Rather, I knew her at one time, but I left her side when I was too little to be able to remember. I love my adopted family. They were so kind to me. I ate well, lived in a warm, comfortable house, got to stay up late. Let me tell you about my family real fast. So there's the mother. Never called her mom or anything like that. I called her by her first name, which was Janice. She didn't mind, though. Called her that for so long, I don't think she even noticed. Okay. Kind woman. She was the one who recommended the adoption in the first place. Sometimes I would lay my head against her in front of the TV and she would tickle my back with her nails. I'm assuming that might come back later. Then there's Dad. His real name was Richard. He never really liked me much. So I began to refer to him as Dad in a desperate attempt to gain his affection. Didn't work. I think that no matter what I called him, he would never love me as much as his own child. That's understandable, so I didn't really press the matter. The most notable attribute of Dad was his unmoving sternness. He was not afraid to pop his children when they did something wrong. I found that out before I could use the restroom properly. He didn't hesitate to spank me. Lastly is my sister, little Emily. She was really young when I was adopted, so we were about the same age. She was slightly older. I like to think of her as my little sister, though. We got along better than any sibling could possibly get along. We would stay up late together and talk. She did a lot of the talking. I mostly just listened because I loved her. It was a great setup that we had. We were short on bedrooms because I didn't want to sleep in the living room by myself when I was little. I had a pallet set up for me next to her bed on the floor. So he kind of slept in his sister's room. This is where I have slept since. But it was cool with me because I enjoyed being with her and I always felt pretty protective of my little sis. Okay, you guys with me? Adopted guy, family. Danielle Cheeks, you done gave me a parking spot in Los Angeles and some hearts. I feel all the Halloween love. Thank you so much. Y'all with me? Y'all with me? All right, cool. Let's keep going. Everything changed on a horrible Wednesday night. I was at home taking a nap when little Emily opened the front door. The sound of the door opening pulled me into a state of consciousness, and I walked from the room down the hall into the living room. That's when I remembered it was Wednesday. That's when I first remembered it was Wednesday. I was never any good at keeping track of what day it was. Actually, I'll go ahead and say it. My sense of time was horrible, but nevertheless, I knew it was Wednesday because Emily had just come home from her church's youth group gathering. She walked in the front door and hugged me and then was followed in by Dad and Janice, Mom and Dad. You have a good nap, Janice said, teasing as she ruffled my hair. I just shook my head away and snorted in a manner that clearly expressed that I was teasing back with her. Don't you snort at your mother like that, said my father gruffly with authority. He shut the door behind him and hung up the coat. I said I was clearly joking, and he must not have heard me because I didn't feel him smack me. Lovely guy. Emily then proceeded into our room, and I followed. She started telling me about her day. You know, usual teenage girl stuff. After the summary, she suggested watching TV, and I obliged, and jumping onto the couch as she was going for the remote. She rolled her eyes at my little brother-like immaturity and scooted me over and sat down. The TV turned on, and we watched together until the sun went down. Emily was the kind of girl that instead of watching cartoons and soap operas, would watch Discovery and Animal Planet and National Geographic. Interesting girl. I like those too, so I didn't mind. So it got late, and then Janice, Mom, walked up behind the sofa. Emily, it's past your bedtime. Turn off the television and go to your room. You too, she said, pointing at me. Emily turned the program off, and we were watching, and we stood up. He tells the story in very small parts. She started down the hallway to our room. As I followed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. We went into our room and Emily turned off the light. Just as she did, I caught a flash of movement out of the corner of my eye. It was out the window, but as soon as I redirected my line of sight to where the window was, It was out the window, but as soon as I redirected my line of sight to where the window was, no longer in my peripheral vision, what it was that I thought I saw was gone, and I still remained alert for my sister's state. I hate how this guy writes. I laid there in the darkness with nothing but the thin ray of light from the street lamp outside to illuminate the room. It wasn't much. And time again, I swore I heard subtle sounds just out the window. A twig break, leaves crunching, clothes jostling, whatever that is. Is that jostling? All the while, I could smell a faint stench of sweat and blood. Don't know what sweat smells like, but he was smelling blood. I kept my eyes open most of the night. The sounds outside subsided and the smell left my nose. I began to feel at ease. My eyelids closed. Not long after that, I heard a very large crash on the other side of the house. I was up in an instant. There's someone in the house. I yelled that out, and I yelled to everybody to wake up. I shrilly pleaded with Emily. She did. As soon as I saw her sit up, I ran into the parents' room. Dad was dead. I mean, damn, 0 to 100 real quick. Dad was dead. His neck was splayed open and gaping as blood spilled out of it, off the bed onto the floor. I saw that the master bedroom's door was closed, and just before it on the outside was a man. A man. I don't even feel comfortable calling it that. He was very large and rugged. He turned around and saw me, and that's when I saw him accurately for the first time. I won't forget it. His eyes were large and beady and trapped with lust. Never heard that about a man. He was styling a beard. That's weird. I pictured a beard when he said rugged. And that was badly unkempt with blood dripping off of it. His clothes were dirty and his face was cold. Just then I noticed the same horrid smell of sweat and blood from earlier, but this time it was overwhelming. He saw me. He saw me and grinned with a set of crooked yellow teeth. The smile threw me off. I thought that I was going to die, but then he turned back to the bathroom door completely unperturbed by my presence. I was terrified and didn't know what to do. I just yelled and cried. I watched as he shouldered through. Oh, damn. I watched as he shouldered through the door that was my mom's only protection. I watched as he raised the large razor he was carrying, but had obviously neglected to use properly. I watched as he sliced her open and tore her to shreds. Sheesh. I then heard, let me check in with you guys. You guys good? You guys straight? Anybody like fam? If you just tuned in, I'm doing scary creepypastas, okay? And apparently this is it got a twist coming. Okay, just making sure that you guys are good. All right, so he wakes up in the middle of the night, smells sweat and blood, hears a loud crash, goes into his adopted parents' room, sees his dad's dead, sees a really big man-like creature with a beard dripping from blood. He turns around, smiles at him, and then breaks down the door, where his mom is hiding, and cuts his mom up. Then I heard something, the last thing I wanted to hear. It was Emily's scream coming from behind me. The large monstrosity looked up from my butchered mother and stared at my little sister. I was distraught. He stood up and quickly started walking towards us. My sis turned and ran, and I was at a loss when he bypassed me and went straight after her. Why was she still in the house? Had she not assessed the situation and run? Apparently not, but now she was dead and I was alone. I ran after both of them. I expected the man to kill her as he had the rest of my family, but I was sadly mistaken. He grabbed her by the arm and jerked her as a way to make clear that he was in control. He dragged her through the house. I was making all the noise I could, now hoping and praying that someone would come to my aid. He mustn't take her. Not her. Mustn't. As he passed me, I backed against the wall and whimpered with terror. Why? Why didn't he? He didn't respond except by putting his hand free on my head. By putting his free hand on my head, while Emily screamed in the other, saying, "Good boy." He gave another crooked grin and a very cold, unnatural laugh. I followed him to the door where he dragged my helpless sister after him. He opened it, pulled her out, and slammed it shut behind him. I am now sitting in the room with my mutilated adopted parents, shivering and whimpering with dismay. He's out there with her, doing who knows what to her. And I can't do anything. I would if I could, but I can't. I would chase after them in a heartbeat, but I can't. I sit here looking at the front door. I look down at my paws. If only I could open doors. Whoa! Whoa! I was not expecting that. Holy shit, it was a dog. I was a dog. That whole story. That was pretty fire. Let me scan back through this. Okay, so let me tell you about my wait. I never knew my real mother. I was at her side when I was too little to remember. Okay. Let me tell you about my family. First, there's my mom. I just called her by her first name, Janice. Sometimes I would lay my head against her in front of the TV and she would tickle my back with her nails. The dad didn't really like him. He would never love me as much as his own child, obviously. I found that out before I could use the restroom properly. He didn't hesitate to spank me. My sister's Emily. It's the words they were using. They never used one word it was all human to human words. We would stay up late together and just talk. She did a lot of the talking. I mostly just listened. Wow. I didn't want to sleep in the living room by myself. I had a pallet set up for me next to her bed on the floor. This is where I slept since. At first I was thinking, is he a ghost? But now it makes sense. I didn't have a good sense of time. I didn't know it was Wednesday, but it must have been Wednesday because she came home. And that's why the dad didn't answer. And there was that thing where she said, Emily, it's past your bedtime. Turn off the TV and go to your room. And then she said, you too. Which I guess he would say too. Wow. And they do say that animals can predict stuff like that. So he probably smelled this guy lurking outside. Wow. Good boy. Wake up, there's someone in the house. Wake up, I pleaded with Emily, and she sat up. So he was just barking. God dang. That was worth it. That was worth it for me. That kind of blew my mind, low key. Especially since I was like saying it. How you twist the person who's reading it. Well, I guess that's the whole point. It's literally the whole point of a twist. Woo! Woo! All right. That was good. That was actually really good. I feel that. If you were there from the beginning, that's a good one. Hey, who's that? Hibidu, loving the podcast, bro. Keep up the great work. He even inspired me to start my own YouTube channel. That's dope. I like that. Good luck to you, man. It's fun. Hibidu, thank you for the smoothie. Jesus, that was pretty cool. It was all from the perspective of a dog. All right, that was kind of a mind fuck. That was kind of a mind fuck. It was a genius way of writing it. That's really what it was, because I thought every twist was over here, and it was like, damn. It's a good twist. Good one. All right. Well, I'm glad you guys liked it. All right. Somebody's saying hi a lot. Hi. You can stop. You don't need to spam. Hi. What do you want out of that? That's wild. That's super wild. Oh, Chris T, you're so funny. Oh my God. I'm going to put Quantrell in every comment until I get a laugh. You're so funny. Are you a comedian for Halloween? That was one of the best stories I've ever read, low-key. I'm not even going to lie to you. In terms of the creepiness. Damn, I don't even know if we're gonna top that. Let me see if there's a reasonably. I do like the quick ones. I'm not gonna lie, I do like the quick ones. But that was just fantastic. Let's go to creepypasta and read the creepypasta of the month. Ted the Caver. Oh, No End House is here again. The Girl in the Picture. Let me see. This is trending. Is it long? Yep, I'm not reading that. Let's just go based on size. That's what she said. Nope, not reading that. Where's the bite-sized? Is there like a little filter for minutes you trying to read? Because Squidward suicide. I am going to read this one. It's not that long. It says, I just want to start off by saying, if you want an answer at the end, prepare to be disappointed. There just isn't one. Y'all down for Squidward suicide? Cameron Jones. I remember you. Appreciate that. Great story, Pat. I don't celebrate Halloween, but I love you and I love Halloween. And you love Halloween. Happy Halloween, everybody. That's a real one. I appreciate you, Cameron. I appreciate the smoothie. And I appreciate the, I guess, liking Halloween because I like it. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. That fucked me up. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Even more than the scary ones. Because that one was scary. I was just more of a like, sheesh. Sheesh. If you're gonna kill the whole family, you might as well kill the dog. He was right. That dude had a soft spot. Okay. What, he thought that made him a good person after killing the family? I don't like how he just left with the little girl and that was it. Like, I don't like the slight, human trafficking nodes. But that is that's deep. If only I looked down at my paws. If only I could open doors. That was after watching Eli, and you guys know how I feel about Eli, and that twist they tried to throw at us, that made me feel very good. There's still some good writers. Hazel in the back writing the next creepypasta. Oh, that was good. I'm happy. That was good. That was good Halloween stuff. Is this another one from Cameron? Cameron Jones, another smoothie. Thank you for sharing your Halloween with us. I love your content. You inspire me. Keep going. You're doing a great job. Thank you. Give comment lessons to that other girl. Because that was dope. All right, so do you guys want us to do one more? Oh, damn, we had an hour. Yeah, let's just do one more. I want to tie you guys up all night. It's Halloween. Go get drunk and do responsible things. Okay, so you guys didn't like Eli either, huh? All right, so there is the Squidward suicide. Ooh, this one's not long at all. This one's called Gateway of the Mind, which is ever wonder what would happen if you couldn't see, hear, smell, taste, or touch. This creepypasta is here to put that theory in the test. What is honestly the most terrifying science experiment. So it centers around a group of scientists who wish to make contact with God, and they can do so if they remove the body of all 5 senses. And after they do this complete sensory surgery on a test subject, the poor person is completely disoriented and begins to hallucinate and hear people who have passed away. What happens at the end is extremely meta. But apparently it says what the subject goes through is enough to absolutely creep anyone out. That sounds like a good one. There's also the story of Squidward's suicide, which is trending. And apparently it's from the point of view of somebody who used to work at Nickelodeon. It was an internship. And that one's somewhat long, maybe like a few minutes. And then Gateway of the Mind is actually pretty small. Both? People saying both. Okay. Well, if y'all saying both, I guess we doing both then. Because I love you guys. But remember, before I tell this story, you just have to promise me that you'll remember about sharks. Oh, we running it back. Yeah, it's not in tune. Fuck you. But remember, sharks are biting off titties. Oh, they're biting titties off. Don't go in there, pretend like it's seasoned meat. Pretend that the ocean is just like seasoned meat. White people pretend that the ocean is a group of black guys. Pretend that the ocean is seasoned meat. Remember, white people, sharks are biting off titties. Oh, get your titties bit off. Let's get back into these scary movies, guys. These scary stories. This creepy lasagna, creepy pasta. Yeah, throw them. Is that a shark? Okay. I like the YouTube shark emojis. You don't really think about how different the emojis are. But let's get back into these. Let's get back into these damn creepy pests. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go start with the shorter one, Gateway of the Mind, the science experiment. And then we will go into Squidward's suicide, which I don't know what it is. It's just trending. So it's called Gateway of the Mind. In 1983, a team of deeply pious scientists conducted a radical experiment in an undisclosed facility. Real quick, this is why it takes me so long to get through these. I just have a lot of thoughts. Imagine being a human experiment in a facility that nobody knows about. That has to be so scary. Ain't no chance for help. You just in the fucking negative 50th floor of some bunker with some guy. Like, yeah, what do your insides look like? But I digress. The scientists have theorized that a human without access to any senses or ways to perceive stimuli would be able to perceive the presence of God. So I guess to perceive God, you need to be completely senseless. That's what that old black insult comes from. You're senseless. They believe that the five senses clouded or our awareness of eternity, and without them, a human would actually establish contact with God by thought. Who wants to guess the people who think this aren't willing to experiment on themselves? So that's how y'all do people. Got to put somebody else through it. It says an elderly man who claimed to have nothing left to live for was the only test subject to volunteer. Okay, so at least they volunteered. So they say. To purge him of all his senses, the scientists performed a complex operation in which every sensory nerve connected to the brain was surgically severed. Although the test subject retained full muscular function, he could not see, hear, taste, smell, or feel. So Wait, can't see, can't hear, can't taste, can't smell, can't feel. How would you accurately, can you talk if you can't hear? You could talk, right? But you don't know what you're saying, so you don't know, like, how would they even give a review after that? I'm sorry, I'm exposing you guys to my thoughts. With no possible way to communicate with or even the sense of the outside world, he was alone with his thoughts. Scientists monitored him as he spoke aloud about his state of mind in jumbled, slurred sentences that he couldn't even hear. After 4 days, the man claimed to be hearing hushed, unintelligible voices in his head. Assuming that it was an onset of psychosis, the scientists paid little attention to this man's concerns. But you're a scientist doing this experiment. Oh, I'm sorry. 2 days later, the man cried that he could hear his dead wife speaking to him, and even more, he could communicate back. The scientists were intrigued, but were not convinced until the subject started naming dead relatives of the scientists. He repeated personal information to the scientists that only their dead spouses and parents would have known. At this point, a sizable portion of scientists left the study. Which is kind of messed up. You put this dude through all that, now he's going through all of this, and you're just like, I tap out. I'm not ready for this. Like, what? You got to do this forever. After a week of conversing with the deceased through his thoughts, it's a long time, the subject became distressed, saying the voices were overwhelming. In every waking moment, his consciousness was bombarded by hundreds of voices that refused to leave him alone. He frequently threw himself against the wall, trying to elicit a pain response. He begged the scientists for sedatives so he can escape the voices by sleeping. This tactic worked for 3 days until he started having severe night terrors. The subject repeatedly said that he could see and hear the deceased in his dreams. How do you see if you're blind in your dreams? I wonder, I think that was a question on Twitter. Like, do blind people see at night when they dream? Only a day later, I guess they would, huh? Because we're not actually seeing stuff. Only a day later, the subject began to scream and claw at his non-functional eyes, hoping to sense something in the physical world. The hysterical subject now said that the voices of the dead were deafening and hostile, speaking of hell and the end of the world. At one point, he yelled, "No heaven, no forgiveness," for 5 hours straight. You guys seeing it? When it starts to get religious, I don't know why I thought you guys would be able to see as good as my eyes are. All right, let's jump back into this. So no heaven, no forgiveness for 5 hours straight. He continuously begged to be killed, but the scientists were convinced that he was close to establishing contact with God. It's fucked up. After another day, the subject could no longer form coherent sentences. Seemingly mad, he started to bite off chunks of his flesh from his arm. You guys got to put this guy down. That's messed up. The scientists rushed into the test chamber and restrained him to a table so he could not kill himself. They weren't happy. They weren't good with the, I could see dead people. That's kind of a, talking to dead people and referring to them by name and sensitive info. That's, I feel like that's close enough. Scientists are going to hell. He started biting off chunks of his arm. Scientists restrained him to a table so he could not kill himself. After a few hours of being tied down, the subject halted his struggling and screaming. He stared blankly at the ceiling as teardrops silently streaked across his face. So fucked up. For 2 weeks, the subject had to be manually rehydrated due to the constant crying. I didn't even know you can get dehydrated from crying. Eventually, he turned his head and, despite his blindness, made focused eye contact with a scientist for the first time in the study. So if you can imagine a nigga with no sight or eyes making eye contact with you, like where you know where to stare. He whispered, sentence creeped me out so much I couldn't really talk for a second. He whispered, "I have spoken with God, and he has abandoned us." And then his vital signs stopped. I'll say that again. After he contacted ghosts and dead people, they started talking about hell and going into religion. For 5 hours straight, he yelled, "No heaven, no forgiveness." Then he stopped restraining and just cried for 2 weeks. They were doing this. And then he turned his head to a scientist who I assume is batshit crazy now and whispered, "I have spoken with God and he has abandoned us." And then he died. There was no apparent cause of death. I'm gonna X that tab out. That's fucked up. That's pretty fucked up. Can you imagine talking to somebody who's on the other side and they're like, "I just talked to God. He's out." You're just like, "Oh no, what?" Yep, that's some stuff that you for sure need to. I don't even know what you're supposed to do. You're just not supposed to learn stuff like that. How about that? How about not torturing somebody for what seemed like a month, right? I bet they were German. I'm assuming. Yikes. All right, you guys good? You guys good in here? Yes, fucked up. You're right. Saw the chill bumps. Saw the chill bumps. Someone heard a door open. Don't do that. Don't do me like that. All right. I'm a great storyteller. Well, thank you. Huh. Huh. We need more hazels, right? We need some hazels. Yeesh. That's a lot. That's a lot. All right, let's no, the cat is not moving. Thank you. Thank God. Okay, good. The magical cloudy nigga. That's me. Wow. Yeah, I'm probably gonna pray after this. Do some praying. All right, let's do this last one so I can watch something that's happy. Just get a little purge. Just a little purge. All right, so this is called Squidward's Suicide. So hopefully this has I'm glad I didn't end on that last one because then I'd just be thinking of my humanity. All right, so again, this is called Squidward's Suicide. It says if you want an answer at the end, prepare to be disappointed. There just isn't one. So who knows? Maybe we will leave this fucked up. All right, so told from the point of view of somebody. It says, I was an intern at Nickelodeon Studios for a year in 2005 for my degree in animation. It wasn't paid, but there's some perks, okay? To the adults, it might not seem like a big one, but most of the kids at the time would shit themselves over it. Who doesn't want to work for Nickelodeon, right? So I worked directly with the editors and the animators, and I got to view the new episodes days before they aired. I'll get right to it without any unnecessary details. Thank you. They had very recently made the SpongeBob movie, and the entire staff was somewhat sapped of creativity, so it took them longer to start up the season. You don't really think about that happening. But the delay lasted longer for more upsetting reasons. There was a problem with the series 4 premiere that set everyone and everything back for several months. I got to go back and watch SpongeBob now. Me and 2 other interns were in the editing room along with the lead animators and sound editors for the final cut. We received the copy that was supposed to be Fear of a Krabby Patty. I know y'all heard that. Fear of a Krabby Patty, and gathered around the screen to watch. Now, given that this isn't final yet, animators often put up a mock title card, so sort of an inside joke for us, with phony, often lewd titles, such as How Sex Doesn't Work, and instead of Rockabye by Valve. That's kind of fucked up to hear, right? Like the animators are putting like disgusting stuff on our SpongeBob. You leave our SpongeBob alone. When SpongeBob and Patrick adopt a sea scallop, that was a funny episode. And they would put a mock title like How Sex Doesn't Work, instead of what ended up being Rockabye by Valve. Nothing particularly funny, but work-related chuckles, right? So when we saw the title card, Squidward's suicide, we didn't think it more than a morbid joke. I already don't like where this is going. One of the interns did a small throat laugh at it. The happy-go-lucky music plays, as is normal. The story began with Squidward practicing his clarinet, hitting a few sour notes like normal. We hear SpongeBob laughing outside, and Squidward stops, yelling at him to keep it down as he has a concert that night and needs to practice. SpongeBob says okay and goes to see Sandy with Patrick. The bubble splash screen comes up, and we see the ending of Squidward's concert. This is when things began to seem off. While playing, a few frames repeat themselves, but the sound doesn't. At this point, the sound is synced up with animation. So yes, that's not common. Basically, the sound is going and the frames are jumping around. But when he stops playing, the sound finishes as if the skip never happened. There's slight murmuring in the crowd before they begin to boo him. Not normal cartoon booing that is common on the show, but you could clearly hear malice in it. Squidward's in full frame and looks visibly afraid. The shot goes to the crowd with SpongeBob in center frame, and he too is booing, very much unlike him. That isn't the oddest thing, though. What is odd is that everyone had hyper-realistic eyes, very detailed. I hate when cartoons have hyper-realism. Clearly no shots of real people's eyes. Clearly not shots of real people's eyes, but something a bit more than CGI. The pupils were red. Some of us looked at each other, obviously confused, but since we weren't the writers, we didn't question its appeal to children yet. So imagine being an intern. You can't even really say, like, are y'all niggas tripping? The shot then goes to Squidward sitting on the edge of his bed, looking very forlorn. That view out of his porthole window is of a night sky, so it isn't very long after the concert. The unsettling part is at the point there is no sound. At this point, there's no sound, literally no sound. Not even the feedback from the speakers in the room. It's as if the speakers were turned off, though their status showed them working perfectly. He just sat there, blinking. In this silence for about 30 seconds. Then he started to sob softly. He put his hands or tentacles over his eyes and cried quietly for a full minute more, all while a sound in the background very slowly growing from nothing to barely audible. It sounded like a slight breeze through a forest. This is fucking SpongeBob up for me. Let me check in with you guys. You guys good? You guys good? Oh, I did forget to put the podcast on Spotify. My bad. All right, I'm low-key just trying to take a break from that story. But let's keep going. The screen slowly begins to zoom in on his face. By slow, I mean it's only noticeable if you look at shots 10 seconds apart side by side. The sobbing gets louder, filled with more hurt and anger. The screen then twitches a bit as if it twists in on itself for a split second, then back to normal. The wind through the trees sound gets slowly louder and more severe, as if a storm is brewing somewhere. The eerie part is this sound, and Squidward's sobbing sounded real, as if the sound wasn't coming from the but as if the speakers were holes in the sound, as if the speakers were holes and the sound was coming through from the other side. As good as sound as the studio likes to have, they don't purchase the equipment to be that good to produce sound of that quality. Below, even story-wise, this is weird. Below the sound of the wind and sobbing, very faint, something sounded like laughing. It came from at odd intervals and never lasted more than a second, but you had a hard time pinning it. We watched this show twice, so pardon me if things were too specific, but I've had time to think about them. After 30 seconds of watching this, the screen blurred and twitched violently, and something flashed over the screen as if a single frame was replaced. The lead animation editor paused and rewound frame by frame. What we saw was horrible. It was a still photo of a dead child. Couldn't have been more than 6 years old. The face was mangled and bloodied. One eye dangling over his upturned face popped. He was naked down to his underwear, his stomach crudely cut open, and his entrails laid beside him. That's like organs and, what is it, the intestines. He was laying on some pavement that was probably a road. The most upsetting part was that there was a shadow of the photographer. There was no crime tape, no evidence tags or markers, and the angle was completely off for a shot designed to be evidence. It would seem the photographer was the person responsible for the child's death. We were, of course, mortified, but pressed on, hoping it was just a sick joke. The screen flipped back to Squidward, still sobbing, louder than before, and half body in frame. There was now what appeared to be blood running down his face from his eyes. This, I'm not going to watch SpongeBob after this. The blood was also done in a hyper-realistic style, looking as if you touched it, you'd get blood on your fingers. The wind sounded now as if it were a gate blowing through the forest, and there were snapping sounds of branches. The laughing, a deep baritone lasting at longer intervals and coming more frequently, started increasing. After about 20 seconds, the screen again twisted and showed a single frame photo. I'm going to jump back to you guys real quick. All right. Okay. 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 All right. Let's jump back in. So just to catch you guys up, and this catch up is more for me. It's an intern at Nickelodeon Studios. They're watching the final cut of the season 4 premiere. And they say that they typically play little jokes, throw things in there before it's finalized. But this particular time, the intern in the room, it's a episode about Squidward having a bad show. And for some reason, the characters are booing him and he has a really bad show. And then he cuts to him in complete silence, crying on the edge of his bed. And it starts zooming in. You start hearing wind. You start hearing little maniacal laughter. And then something flashes. They freeze framed it. It was a picture of a dead child, human. And you saw the shadow of the photographer who's assuming to be the murderer. So where is it? The editor was reluctant to go back, as we all were, but we knew we had to. This time the photo was that of what appeared to be a little girl, no older than the first child. She was laying on her stomach, her barrettes in a pool of blood next to her. Her left eye was too popped out, and she was naked except for her underpants. Her entrails were piled on top of her, and there's a crude cut on her back. Again, the body was on the street, and the photographer's shadow was visible, very similar in size and shape to the first. I had to choke back vomit, and one intern, the only female in the room, ran out. They kept going. About 5 seconds after this first photo, after the second photo played, Squidward was silent, as did all sound, like when the scene started. He put his tentacles down, and his eyes were now done in hyperrealism like the others were in the beginning of the episode. They were bleeding, bloodshot, and pulsating. He just stared at the screen as if watching the viewer. After about 10 seconds of this, he started sobbing again, this time not covering his eyes. The sound was piercing and loud, and most fear-inducing of all is his sobbing was mixed with screams. So Squidward was just like, staring at the viewer. Tears and blood, we're almost done. Tears and blood were dripping down his face at a heavy rate. The wind sound came back, so did the deep laughing, and this time the still photo lasted for a good 5 frames, so they ran the dead kids back. The animator was able to stop it on the 4th and backed up. This time the photo was of a boy about the same age, but this time the scene was different. Okay, so it was a different picture. The entrails were just being pulled out of a stomach wound by a large hand. The right eye popped and dangling, blood trickling down it. The animator proceeded. My eyes are getting... It was hard to believe, but the next one was different, but we couldn't tell why. He went on to the next, same thing. We went back to the first and played them quicker, and I lost it. I vomited on the floor. The animating and sound editors gasping at the scene. The 5 frames were not as if they were 5 different photos, but they were played out as if they were frames from a video. We saw the hand slowly lift out the guts, and we saw the kid's eyes focus on it. We even saw 2 frames of the kid beginning to blink. So it was almost like a little flip book. The lead sound editor told us to stop. You'd think that they would have found someone was up way before this. He had to call in the creator to see this. Mr. Hillenberg arrived within about 15 minutes. Okay, so he was around. He was confused as to why he was called down there, so the editor just continued the episode. Once the few frames were shown, all screaming, all sound again stopped. Squidward was just staring at the viewer, full frame, for about 3 seconds. The shot quickly panned out, and the deep voice said, "Do it." And we see in Squidward's hand a shotgun. He immediately puts the gun in his mouth and pulls the trigger. Realistic blood and brain matter splatters the wall behind him and his bed. He flies back with the force. The last 5 seconds of this episode show his body on the beds, on his side, one eye dangling on what's left of his head above the floor, staring blankly at it. Then the episode ends. The boss, creator, Mr. Hillenberg, is obviously upset at this because he just got called into a room and saw his character kill themselves and demanded to know what the hell was going on. Most people left the room at this point, so it was just a handful of us to watch it again. Viewing the episode twice only served to imprint the entirety of it on my mind and cause the horrible nightmares. I'm sorry I stayed. The only theory we could think of was the file was edited by someone in the chain from the drawing studio to here. The file was edited by someone in the chain from the drawing studio to here. So someone got it and edited it up. The CTO was called in to analyze when it happened. The analysis of the file did show it was edited over by new material. However, the timestamp of it was a mere 24 seconds before we began viewing it. Whoa. So basically what that means is they found out when it was edited, and it was only altered 24 seconds before they pressed play. All equipment involved was examined for foreign software and hardware, as well as glitches, as if the timestamp may be glitched and showed the wrong time, but everything checked out fine. We don't know what happened, and to this day, nobody knows. There was an investigation due to the nature of the photos, but nothing came of it. No child scene was identified, and no clues were gathered from the data involved. I never believed in unexplainable phenomena before, but now that I have something happen and can't prove anything about it beyond anecdotal evidence, I think twice about things. I'm done. I think I'm done. I am done. What do you guys call a frog with no legs? Unhappy. Let's get our minds happy. Wow. I'm surprised I see more people in here than before. I would have dipped. All right. It's been an hour and a half of horribleness, horrible stories. This is my creepypasta episode. I will never do this again. You guys got a once in a lifetime opportunity. I think I'm good on creepypasta. I was always thinking like, I'm gonna do a podcast where I read creepypastas. Not again. Not again. Taj Bennett, you're a damn genius. There's only one way. There's really just only one way to end this horribleness. And it's really just a scary story from your boy. And it's about sharks. It's for white people, y'all. Sing it with me. Sharks are biting off titties. Oh, they're biting titties off. Don't go in there pretend that it's seasoned meat. White people pretend that the ocean is just like seasoned meat. Pretend that the ocean is a group of black guys. Pretend that the ocean is seasoned meat. White people, remember, sharks are biting off titties. Don't titties bit off. I said get your titties, yeah. Happy Halloween, you guys. Love you guys. Go pray, accept Jesus into your life. Do something for God. Hand out candy, something, because that was a lot. I appreciate you guys staying with me. But that is a lot on your mentality. So make sure you cleanse yourself, get it right positive so you don't have any nightmares or just not mentally fucked up from now on. But like you said, like I said, the song's burned into your head. That is exactly what I want. That's just going to be my podcast intermission. Holds lighter up. Sharks biting off titties. Yeah. Can you feel it now, Mr. Krabs? Can you feel it now? Happy Halloween, you guys. And remember, get back somewhere positive, y'all. Okay, last little minute. Red Bull, I see you, Mr. Trill. Appreciate you. All right, guys. Be safe.